celebrating 12 incredible years of empowering automotive professionals with trusted news, insights, and strategies. Thank you for driving success with us. Here's to a future of innovation and excellence in automotive retail.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Inside Automotive right here at CBTnews.com. As we wrap up the year, it's the perfect time to take a look back and reflect on the big wins and challenges of retail automotive. Today we are joined by Don Hall, who, as you know, is the CEO and president of the Virginia Automobile Dealers Association, to get his take on the state of the industry, and we'll also get his thoughts on what the Scout brand could mean for the market, and also the Amazon relationship with Hyundai, and maybe some other things we'll throw in there as well. Don, thank you so much for taking the time in your schedule to join us on the show.
Jim, it's always great to be with you and with your CBT audience. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, this was a crazy election year. I say it was a crazy election year, but it was a crazy election. And obviously Trump won. We'll talk about that in a minute. But between Amazon and Hyundai and so many other things that we can talk about, Scout coming into the market and selling their vehicles directly to consumers. I know that's a hot topic for you as well. But so what were some of the big things as you look back at 2024? What were some of the takeaways for you?
Well, again, always aware of the fact that manufacturers often have these unique ideas about how they can change our business and make things better and more creative and better for customers. And ultimately, it's always about feathering their nest. And I would say that car dealers get the fact that it's important that customers have a great buying experience. We don't need the manufacturers to tell us how to do that, nor can they do it. We're the best people to do it. And I'm happy, based on experience I've had this year, to be able to tell you that I am absolutely convinced that this next generation understands this principle very well, and customers indeed will have a great buying experience based on the technology and the attitudes that prevail with our younger folks now in our great industry.
Yeah, and speaking of which, you shared with me before we got recording today that you are actually enrolled in the NADA Academy, which I think a lot of people might find surprising. But talk to me about the motivation behind doing that, and what are some of the takeaways from that so far?
Jim, number one, thank you for bringing up the subject. It's important, I think, for me to tell folks. You know, I'm one of those people that believe that we have an obligation, if we want to live in life and make a difference in life, to continue to educate ourselves. After a 45-year career working in this great industry, a man in my late 60s, you know, I said, so what can I do to make sure that I know what young people are being taught, what they're saying, and so forth? And I called Mike Stant at NADA, and I said, Mike, as a former general manager of a dealership, sales manager, F&I manager, and so forth, would you allow me to join in at the NADA Academy and to attend classes for those young people that are future dealers, senior managers in our organizations? And with some reluctance, he said, for you, Don, we will. And so he did. And so I have been a part of a number of classes that have since graduated or are in the process of graduating. And I've taken a bunch of classes where I stay there for the entire week and go to NADA Dealer Academy. I have enjoyed it, but I'll tell you what I've gotten from it. And that is that today our business is extraordinarily cerebral, meaning you don't have to have 30 years experience to be great at it. You need 3 years and be really smart, and use some of the things they're teaching at the Academy can really help our folks in the business serve customers even better. I am more convinced that we are the answer, the franchise system, that NADA is playing a critical part about imparting great things to future dealers, general managers, and so forth. And bravo to them, and I'm grateful to be a part of that organization and to be a student in those classes. Because I will tell you, the young people today really understand that it's about the consumer buying experience, but it's also about the people who serve them, vis-a-vis those folks who work in our dealerships. It's a wonderful program. If you haven't put your managers in it, put them in it right away, Jim, because this program makes a difference. I've learned a tremendous amount, but I've also had a confirmation that much of what we learned so long ago is still true but with technology, we can make ourselves even better.
That's right. There's everybody that I have spoken to in the last 12 years on CBT News that's gone through the academy highly recommends it. I mean, they feel as though that has been a game changer for them in their career, obviously. And of course, all of the dealers that I've spoken to that have sent candidates to the academy have really said it was the best move for them to grow their managers. What were some of the takeaways, though, for you? Can you be more specific about maybe some of the things that jumped out at you that maybe wowed you?
Yeah. For instance, there are a number of equations that will allow you to evaluate yourself compared to your peers. So you've got to understand your statements and how to pull them and how to do some mathematics. But it can tell you how you're really doing. And we spent a long time talking about the turn. And one of our guest speakers talked about we ought to be on a 30-day cycle. You know, frankly, 45 years ago, as a young guy in a dealership, we talked about the turn even back then. But we didn't really understand it the way it does today. And that is this. Even today, circa 2000, almost 25, we're still new car dealers with the privilege and the right to sell a hell of a lot of used cars. And that's really what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
We want those used cars. We want to make sure that we're getting used cars, we're reconditioning them in our shops, and then we're turning and turning those cars, you know, as soon, as quickly as possible. As an example, instead of incentivizing cars that have been on the lot for 60 or 90 days, let's incentivize them in the first 30 so they never make the 60-day or 90-day mark. I mean, these are great principles. I've heard them throughout my career, but now they've got mathematical formulas to talk about it that can really take someone that maybe lacks years of experience, but they're smart enough to understand the mathematics of it and say, okay, this is why we turn things quickly. Here's the amount of money we make. How do we take the average car salesman today selling 9.5 units, I don't know what the half unit is, 10 units a month, and how do we get them to 18 to 20 to 25? Had an instructor yesterday, as a matter of fact, who went into great detail about some of the new things that we can do today to get salespeople up to 20. Don't fight the internet. Customers spend, on average, 7 to 9 hours before they ever come into your dealership ready to buy. And then we won't give them a payment. They've already researched payments. They already know the prices. Customers are informed. Treat them as they should be treated, as educated, informed buyers. Right. We're here to help facilitate and make this a great buying experience. And by the way, once you've completed this wonderful buying experience, can you send me 2 or 3 referrals? People that you know would be interested in this kind of treatment from our dealership. These are the kind of principles they're teaching, and I am all about it, and I think it's great. And again, as a guy that's, you know, later in life, wow, this is an exciting business, and it's great for the young people. They've got a wonderful future ahead. Let's stop the manufacturers from trying to sell direct. VW, as an example, is Scout, because we are the best source for taking care of customers. We are the best informed. We've got the people. We put the money out there to do it. We're going to sell cars best, and we're going to take care of our customers.
That's right. That's right. So true. Well, since you went there, talk to us about the Scout brand. What's your take on this with their desire to sell directly to consumers? I know that there's a number of dealers, Volkswagen, Porsche, Audi stores that are very upset over this. In fact, the whole industry is watching this because they're coming in and saying that Scout isn't a legacy brand, and they're able to do this. But talk to us about that. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about this?
First and foremost, there are a number of states, Florida being one of them, Virginia being another, and others who have passed legislation in the last few years that makes it abundantly clear that any manufacturer who creates a separate division, no matter what they call it, if more than a certain percentage, in our case, Virginia, 25% is owned by that manufacturer, then it is a part of a system that requires a franchisee system. They're all looking at Tesla saying, if they can do it, why can't we? Well, they can't, because 75 years ago, we're the ones who built VW and Audi. We're the ones who took on that risk. We're the ones that overcame objections and sold their vehicles. You cannot, will not, and shall not create a system that allows you to cherry pick certain types of units and say we're going to sell those direct. We will fight. It is a holy war, but I believe VW is smart. Now, coincidentally, they are headquartered in Virginia. They often tout the fact that we are corporate citizens who care about our people. We care about abiding by the laws of the great Commonwealth of Virginia. And so I've sent letters, no response, but I've sent letters reminding them, because you care so much, You know that in Virginia, this is an illegal operation. It cannot be done. And when they make the first move to break the law, we will be there with help of NADA, and we'll help our peers do the same to stop them from doing it. Because I have great faith in our system. Our franchise system works, but more importantly, we are evolving at a quick pace. Our young people that are taking over and running these dealerships are going to give those consumers the kind of experience that our OEMs want to have happen. It is unnecessary, and it will not happen if I have anything to say about it, and many others in this great nation of ours.
Sure. Why do you think that the board at a company like Volkswagen makes the decision to go this route? It would seem to me that it's so much easier, and I know that you brought up Tesla. They look at the Tesla stock, they look at all that goes along with that. But it would seem to me that with a network of 200 or 300 or 400 dealers across the country, immediately they're selling thousands of vehicles to these dealers. And as you know, the dealers buy the cars from the manufacturers. It looks really nice on paper. Of course, they got to sell them to consumers. But it just seems like an easier way to go for the franchise dealer to set up the showrooms and the service centers and the lots and the people and the whole deal. Why would they not go that route and want to take this on themselves?
I've had the privilege of knowing lots of manufacturing higher-ups over the many years that I've had this great career of mine. I don't think they're bad people, but I think sometimes they're not well informed by those who tell them about various opportunities and ideas. I think sometimes they have a certain amount of arrogance as well, meaning we know best, we can do it. We're with the federal government, we're with the OEM, we know best. No, they don't. It's the people who know best. It's the franchisees who know best. And as Mr. Trump said, it's the people who know best. Mm-hmm. So those principles are there. And I think what happens is this: they see EVs and they say, well, car dealers make some negative responses about EVs, therefore let's sell direct. Mm-hmm. Well, the EV world is changing as we speak with the change in administration. EVs are here to stay. But I think at the end of the day, VW is going to wake up from under their own self-imposed ether and say, wow, we've made a mistake. We are sorry to our VW dealers. And in fact, we want to work through the franchise system, and we're going to work through that. And we have certain conditions and terms that we'd like to see adhered to in terms of the buying experience. And they're going to realize, oh, the dealers are already there, but more importantly, embrace change that makes for a better buying experience to make things quicker and so forth. So I think it's just a matter of egos get in the way. I've got something to prove. We watched Ford back off of some of their ideas about how they want to sell certain types of cars. Other OEMs are doing the same. At the end of the day, the reason the franchise system was created and has lasted for over 100 years is because the people on the ground, in the trenches, in the communities are the best way to sell, service, and promote the OEMs. We promote VW and Audi as an example in Virginia. We will continue doing that, but them selling direct will not help them reach that goal, if you will. They're going to have to go through the franchise system.
Right. And you stand ready to fight them if they come into your state, obviously, to do this.
100%. And what's nice is when we changed that law, they were involved in that. They know about it. And at the end of the day, they also know that the Virginia legislature is solidly behind the dealers in Virginia. And they understand clearly that in this case, the franchisee will be the individuals that own dealerships in the Commonwealth, not a manufacturer.
Right. You mentioned Trump becoming president. He did win the election, almost really by a landslide. But having said that, he wants to take away the $7,500 on the EVs. Is that a good move for the industry right now? What's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I think, look, all of us have our own opinions when it comes to Mr. Trump. But at the end of the day, I think that they will be willing to listen to how it might impact. I'm so glad to see that, the new senator from Ohio who is a car dealer. We have some other car dealers who work in Congress as well. And I think that's good. They'll talk about that. Right now, the problem is we may have a slowing down of some of the federal requirements, but the CARB, California Air Resource Board, is still out there demanding and not even considering hybrids Hybrid sales in Virginia has increased tenfold. Hybrids matter to people. Hybrids make a difference. And so I think at the end of the day, my hope is that they will understand there is a need to continue to incentivize, but more importantly, until you have the infrastructure in place, we're not going to have hybrids or EVs being sold to the degree that they can be and should be, because I think they're good. I drive an EV. I also drive, an ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine vehicle, and I love driving the EV when I'm in Richmond, I'm in the community, or an hour or so away from the community. It's great. So I hope that they will continue to listen and hear. And this is not a matter of being a Democrat and therefore you're for EVs, and Republican and you're against EVs. The reality is they're here and there is a market for them, and we want to sell them for sure. But I also want the option of selling plug-in hybrids as well as the other types of hybrids that exist also in this marketplace.
Right. And then, of course, sitting to the right of Trump is Elon Musk. I mean, you would think, if anything, that they would keep that tax incentive in place, right? But and you're saying maybe that'll still happen.
Well, I think there's certainly potential for that. I've given up trying to figure out Mr. Musk. I started off my career when he started, rather not caring much for him and what he was doing with Tesla and so forth. But I actually admire the guy and would want him to know that for what it was worth.
Sure.
This old Marine admires his mentality, his intellect. He's done some good things for this country, and I think it's good. But I think he is wise and smart. What we need to do are be able to have, the prices of cars. As a great example, one of the things I've picked up at NADA Academy is that, more and more we're asking for 7 and 8 year financing. The price of cars is crazy. And as the manufacturers continue to raise the price, continue to compress what we make as dealers, it is difficult. We cannot do 7 and 8 year financing on cars. I'm also amazed how little young people seem to know about leasing. A lot of dealerships are not using leasing. We cannot go, as people will be upside down forever on a 7-year deal or 8-year deal. Leasing will become an option. Then it gives us a used car. We buy that back. We turn it quickly. We recondition it, turn it, sell it. We make money doing that. So I am concerned about those kinds of things. And I think with Mr. Musk and others that advise the president, that if anything, I'm expecting to have a good automotive economy, if you will, for the next 4 years. And certainly some of the positiveness of the election results are reflected even in Virginia as sales have picked up again. Yeah. And there's a greater level of enthusiasm, those working in the business, as well as those who are buying our cars as well.
Yeah, no question about it. Are there any key legislative or regulatory issues on the horizon that dealers in your state should prepare for?
Yeah, we're working on, as are most of my peers nationwide, on deals dealing with warranty reimbursement.
Okay.
We have a difficult time attracting techs to our industry. The average tech now is just over 50 years of age. We're not getting young people to want to come in and be mechanics in dealerships. And part of what happens is techs don't want to work on warranty work. And part of the reason they don't is because of the compressed times, the amount of money that they're not making on those cars. They'd rather do customer pay business. It is a problem. The manufacturers continue to make serious mistakes. I joke about it, but soon enough, we're going to be paying them to do warranty work, if not already. Right. Meaning we make such a little return on that business, and it's so important. In fact, I'm dealing with an issue where today you'll see a part that's being advertised for $1,200 or $1,500. When there's a recall, that part is $400. With the average markup being paid on $400, not $1,200.
Right.
Manufacturers, it isn't right. Yeah. It is not fair. It is not helping our techs. It's not keeping our industry vibrant.
Yeah.
And we need to be vibrant. You need to treat us fairly. And so we will address it in Virginia in 25, as are many other states dealing with the same kinds of issues, because the manufacturers want to play games. And I find that the people I deal with know so little about our industry when it comes to warranty and warranty work, and how tough it is on a tech to have an entire service bay tied up because they're waiting to get answers or don't have parts and so forth. Yeah. It is a problem.
It seems as though this law has been changed in the favor of the dealer in so many states, but there doesn't seem to be any teeth in the law, in the sense that the manufacturers continue to just do business as usual and say they're not going to do anything about that.
Jim, your observation, I think, is a fair one, and characterization is fair as well. The truth of the matter is this: there is teeth, but dealers tend to go along to get along. I mean, the reality is this is a marriage, whether we all like it or not, with the manufacturer and the dealer.
Yeah.
And it's a marriage that needs to be each one giving of themselves to that marriage to make it successful. What we're finding is dealers are willing to give, meaning they don't really want to sue deep down inside. What they want is compromise. They're willing to take sometimes less than what they're entitled to, but they need to be heard and have compromise. And so you've got manufacturers who are not. And dealers are a little fearful of litigating, because when they litigate, then there's always repercussions vis-a-vis, they get punished with inventory in the future, types of inventory in the future, or they get audited more frequently in the future.
They're definitely not getting new points, right?
Correct. In fact, even when you fill an application, it will ask you, have you ever litigated against a manufacturer? I mean, what message does that send?
Right.
It is wrong. And states are more and more beginning to assert themselves, my peers, more and more in these things. And we will become the cog in the wheel that creates a massive problem, because we have the support of our dealers. But the manufacturers, please listen to these final words on this subject, from me anyway. And that is, we want to be in a marriage that we both appreciate and we both treat each other with great respect. And it's a give and take relationship, not take. Not take. We've got to stop that, and let's work together as partners and make sure that ultimately it's the consumer who benefits when you treat us right as well.
That's right. No question about it. If you had to leave with one piece of advice for the Virginia dealers out there heading into 2025, well, what would it be?
It's for all dealers out there, Jim, and that is this: how blessed we are to be in such a great dynamic industry as the automotive industry. Reflect on 25 as we go, and 24 as we go into 25. Celebrate with your family and your loved ones over the holiday periods. But at the end of the day, this is a great business. And more importantly, when we embrace change and we embrace technology, the business will be even greater for those who work in it and those who buy from us. How blessed we are. And with that attitude, we will be extraordinarily successful. If we're a dinosaur, wanting to stay the way we've always been, get the hell out of our business, move aside, and let others have the opportunity to show how great and wonderful the auto industry is. And 25 will be a great year for us, because we care and we're going to make a difference in the lives of consumers.
There you go. Don Hall, the president and CEO of the Virginia Auto Dealers Association. Thank you so much. It's always great catching up with you. Great advice. I can't agree more. And I think it's going to be a great year ahead for dealers. I think it's going to be a great year ahead for business in general, but specifically dealers. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Don.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.